50 centimeters is the exact width of the wet strip that ended Verstappen's race. This specific measurement sat inside the dry line at Zandvoort. It destroyed Red Bull's Dutch Grand Prix on the very opening lap. The title promises hidden FIA footage revealing a secret investigation today. But the actual revelation points to a completely different regulatory issue. No evidence was suppressed regarding the RB22 chassis or components. The definitive answer has been hiding in plain sight all along. Track condition reports tell a starkly different story than expected. Why did the narrative become so tangled around this incident? Verstappen clipped that residual dampness twice in rapid succession exiting the corner. He managed to save the car on the first contact successfully. Then he lost the rear end completely on the second attempt. He applied full throttle, believing the asphalt had finally dried. The heavy wall impact ended the race for Red Bull instantly. A red flag paused proceedings for roughly 1 full hour. Yet the FIA focused its investigative attention elsewhere during that stoppage. Stewards targeted Franco Colapinto and Arvid Lindblad for yellow flag infringements. Esteban Ocon also faced scrutiny for his conduct in the aftermath. These penalties had absolutely nothing to do with Verstappen's crash itself. Drive-through penalties were confirmed for both Colapinto and Lindblad later. This creates a massive tension between expectation and official reality. Fans searched for clues about a compromised car or ruling. Officials were busy penalizing unrelated drivers for separate conduct issues. There was no technical fault found with the RB22 machinery. No component failure caused this disastrous home race retirement. The huge news is actually a definitive confirmation of track error. A pre-race shower left a lingering footprint on the banking. A split-second judgment call on grip levels decided everything here. Physics beat conspiracy theories on this particular Sunday afternoon. Water on asphalt offers no appeal or technical loophole. Zandvoort's bank geometry remains unforgiving to even the smallest mistakes. So where does that leave us right now with the facts? We must separate the internet speculation from the steward documents. The real story involves 3 other drivers and their discipline. Verstappen's misfortune stands alone as a tragic racing incident. The 50-centimeter strip is the only villain in this narrative. Sky Sports quoted Verstappen characterizing the impact as one that could have been a lot worse. That specific phrasing suggests relief rather than anger over the cause. He acknowledged the severity of hitting the barrier at speed. The RB22 absorbed massive kinetic energy in that moment. Safety structures performed exactly as designed under extreme load. Driver safety remained intact despite the violent deceleration. Formula 1. Com described the weekend as disappointing in their headline coverage. But no direct quote from Verstappen disputed the track conditions. Silence on technical blame speaks volumes in this sport. Teams usually protest immediately if they suspect car failure. Red Bull accepted the outcome without public complaint or inquiry. The banking at Zandvoort amplifies every variable exponentially. Cars generate immense downforce through that final sector. A 50-centimeter patch disrupts the entire aerodynamic platform instantly. Tire temperatures drop rapidly when contacting cold moisture. Rear traction vanishes before the driver can react physically. Throttle application becomes a gamble with zero margin for error. Verstappen believed the corner had dried sufficiently for acceleration. His second contact proved that assumption fatally wrong. Water does not negotiate with modern ground effect aerodynamics. Grip levels change between his 2 encounters with the strip. Track evolution is never linear after rainfall stops falling. Race control confirmed the red flag lasted roughly 60 minutes total. This pause allowed marshals to repair the damaged barrier sections. It also gave teams time to assess their own strategies. But it did not trigger any new FIA investigation into Red Bull. No selector footage was withheld from public broadcast feeds. No hidden camera angles emerged days after the event. The definitive record shows only wet asphalt and driver input. Technical regulations were not violated by the car itself. Scrutineers found no anomaly requiring further examination post-crash. The incident closed as soon as the wreckage was cleared. What separates fact from fiction in modern motorsport coverage? We often conflate separate incidents into unified narratives. 3 drivers faced penalties during that same red flag period. Their yellow flag infringements occurred near Verstappen's stationary car. Colapinto and Lindblad received drive-through penalties for speeding. Ocon was investigated but ultimately cleared of wrongdoing. These disciplinary actions filled the official steward bulletins completely. They occupied the same time frame as the crash recovery efforts. Casual observers might link these unrelated events together mistakenly. The timing created an illusion of connected regulatory activity. But correlation does not equal causation in race control decisions. Yellow flag protocols exist independently of accident causation analysis. Drivers must slow down regardless of why a car stopped. Speed limits are enforced automatically through GPS tracking systems. Violations trigger instant reviews without human discretion involved. Verstappen's crash merely provided the location for their infractions. It did not influence the severity or nature of their punishments. The FIA treated these as standard procedural matters throughout. No special attention was directed toward Red Bull's garage specifically. The huge news title references an investigation that never existed. Reality proves far more mundane than viral speculation suggests. Technical delegates examined the RB22 wreckage with standard protocols only. No special directive ordered deeper forensic analysis on site. Component integrity remained intact despite the severe lateral impact forces. Suspension geometry showed no pre-existing fracture or fatigue marks. Telemetry data confirmed normal system operation until the slide began. Steering inputs matched driver description of events precisely. Brake pressures were consistent throughout the final corner approach. Power unit parameters registered 0 anomalies before contact occurred. The car performed exactly as engineered up to that critical moment. Physics alone dictated the unfortunate outcome on this occasion. Rumors of suppressed footage persist without any evidentiary basis whatsoever. Broadcast feeds captured every available angle of the incident clearly. Trackside cameras documented the wet strip's position accurately. Onboard telemetry corroborated visual evidence from multiple sources simultaneously. Nothing was edited, delayed, or restricted from public view. The FIA released all relevant materials through normal channels promptly. Speculation filled the void left by a simple racing accident. Complex narratives feel more satisfying than mundane explanations sometimes. But truth rarely conforms to our desire for intrigue. Water on pavement requires no conspiracy to explain its danger. Driver judgment remains the ultimate variable in wet-dry transitions. Verstappen assessed conditions based on previous lap experience. His mental model suggested sufficient grip for throttle application. Reality disagreed violently within fractions of a second. This gap between perception and physics defines motorsport risk. Even champions misread evolving track surfaces occasionally. Experience cannot eliminate uncertainty entirely during mixed conditions. The 50-centimeter width fell below his detection threshold. Such margins separate triumph from disaster at elite levels. Human interpretation of environmental data is inherently imperfect. So what have we established about the technical side so far? The car was sound, the footage complete, and the cause environmental. No secret investigation ever targeted Red Bull's equipment or personnel. Official records contain only routine post-accident documentation. Steward decisions focused exclusively on unrelated yellow flag breaches. The narrative of hidden scrutiny collapses under factual examination. We must now turn attention to those who actually faced penalties. Their infractions occurred in the chaos following Verstappen's retirement. Understanding their situation clarifies why confusion arose initially. Separate incidents sharing a timestamp created false connections. Distinguishing between them restores accuracy to the historical record. This is where it gets serious for the midfield contenders. While cameras focused on Verstappen's damaged RB22 against the barrier, race control was actively processing penalties that would reshape the points battle behind him. Franco Colapinto and Arvid Lindblad were both confirmed to serve drive-through penalties for failing to respect yellow flags in the immediate aftermath of the crash. Esteban Ocon was also placed under investigation for alleged infringements during that same chaotic period, though his case did not result in a confirmed penalty. These weren't minor warnings or post-race time additions, they were active, in-race sanctions issued while the field sat stationary under red flag conditions. The FIA's investigative resources during the hour-long pause were entirely consumed by these three drivers, not by any forensic review of Red Bull's car or hidden footage analysis. The distinction matters because it redefines what huge news actually meant at Zandvoort. For Colapinto and Lindblad, those drive-through penalties destroyed their race strategies before the restart even occurred. A drive-through costs roughly 20 seconds on track. Dropping a driver from potential points positions into traffic was no recovery window. Lindblad had been running competitively before the sanction. Colapinto was fighting for valuable constructor points. Their Dutch Grand Prix outcomes were decided not by pace or tire management, but by a split-second decision made in the dust and confusion following Verstappen's impact. Ocon avoided punishment, but the mere fact of his investigation proves where steward attention was directed. 3 separate yellow flag cases, all stemming from the same incident zone, all processed during the same red flag window. That is the real regulatory activity from this session. Race control's priority hierarchy became unmistakably clear in that moment. Driver safety and flight compliance took absolute precedence over technical curiosity about a crashed car. Yellow flags exist to protect marshals working on debris removal. Violating them risks lives regardless of why the car stopped. The automated GPS tracking systems flagged Colapinto and Lindblad instantly, triggering mandatory reviews without human discretion. No appeal could override the telemetry showing excessive speed through the designated sector. These penalties were procedural certainties, not subjective judgments open to debate. Meanwhile, Verstappen's crash required no such intervention because the cause was already visually obvious to officials. Wet asphalt needs no data download to confirm its presence. So where does that leave the championship picture after Zandvoort? The penalties handed to Colapinto and Lindblad shifted points away from midfield teams battling for crucial constructor standings. Every position lost to a drive-through translates directly into financial consequences at season's end. Budget caps make each point exponentially more valuable now than in previous eras. Teams cannot afford to absorb self-inflicted wounds during high-pressure moments. The chaos following a home hero crash creates precisely the kind of environment where discipline fractures. Drivers push boundaries assuming officials are distracted by bigger incidents, but automated enforcement removes that assumption entirely. Flag violations carry identical weight whether they occur during routine racing or catastrophic accidents. The system treats them as equally dangerous regardless of context. Sky Sports quoted Verstappen characterizing the heavy impact as one that could have been a lot worse. Those specific words reveal relief rather than frustration over the cause. He acknowledged the severity of hitting the barrier at racing speed. The RB22 absorbed tremendous kinetic energy in that moment. Safety structures performed exactly as designed under extreme lateral load. Driver safety remained intact despite the violent deceleration forces. But no direct quote from Verstappen disputed the track conditions or demanded technical review. Silence on mechanical blame speaks volumes in this sport. Teams usually protest immediately if they suspect car failure or regulatory inconsistency. Red Bull accepted the outcome without public complaint or formal inquiry. He knew it. So did everyone else. Nobody said a word. The paddock understood instinctively that wet patches do not discriminate based on championship position. Even champions cannot negotiate with physics when grip disappears mid-corner. Verstappen's throttle application was a calculated risk that simply did not pay off. His second contact with the damp strip proved the first save was temporary luck rather than sustainable control. Track evolution after rainfall remains notoriously unpredictable on banked circuits. Zandvoort's unique geometry amplifies moisture retention in ways flat tracks do not. Water pools differently under sustained G-loading through inclined surfaces. What appears dry from cockpit perspective may still harbor residual dampness invisible to broadcast cameras. Driver perception and actual surface conditions diverged fatally in that split second.